Team 9, and our innovative intervention is a program called PEPSA. Every year, over 200,000 women and children are trafficked in the Southeast Asian region. Our goal is to eradicate the institution of human trafficking. PEPSA, which is an acronym, is composed of 5 pillars: policy, education, prevention, sustainability, and adjustment. The lotus flower, which you see in the middle of the circle, is a symbol of hope and healing. It's culturally relevant in Southeast Asia, and each petal represents a different pillar of PEPSA. PEPSA will be physically based in the United Nations building in Bangkok, while being a connecting factor for all the existing organizations in Thailand. We will utilize and empower these organizations by integrating them together to make a cohesive unit of success. And these are some of our objectives and our mission. So what PEPSA will be focusing on is a paradigm shift away from victims being seen as criminals to being seen as victims of a crime by highlighting love, safety, and recovery for all individuals affected by the sex trafficking trade. So this is kind of a description of our timeline. It's pretty cyclical, and I know it looks linear, but I'll explain it a little further. In phase 1, PEPSA will be administratively structured, and strong ties will begin to be formed between partner organizations. Baseline surveys will be taken along with training and chapter implementation at our target universities and community centers. In phase 2, we will begin to implement our education, prevention, and adjustment initiatives. In phase 3, ongoing annual reports will be released and comprehensive strategic plans will be created and sent to governments and partners. Phase 4 will be implemented at year 5, where long-term goals will be established along with continued sustainability. Thailand prohibits all forms of trafficking and gives up to a life sentence as a punishment. However, PEPSA will particularly be advocating for the expedition of trafficking cases and the prosecution of corrupt officials who are actually engaging in the trafficking within the Thai government. PEPSA lobbyists will be advocating for the basic health rights of immigrants from surrounding countries, because currently Thailand has a 98% healthcare coverage, but these immigrants and stateless people are not being covered within that. By continuously partnering with the Thai government, PEPSA aims to increase cooperation between bordering countries by holding sexual trafficking summits and sharing statistics and program guidelines. Our overall goal is to make sure that PEPSA is something that can be implemented everywhere. PEPSA will collaborate with the Royal Thai Police Academy to establish quotas and incentives for the patrol and arrest of human traffickers while strengthening a no-tolerance policy.
We'll be focusing on 4 different groups: medical personnel, police, parents and children, and the general public. We'll be focusing on local doctors and clinics in the community, more particularly Siriraj Hospital in Bangkok, which is the largest hospital in the country. We'll also work with organizations such as Doctors Without Borders to educate locals. Since sexual health is such a sensitive subject, it's imperative to educate locals on appropriate sexual health methods such as STI screening and safe sex practices. It is also imperative that doctors learn the red flags and how to appropriately intervene, and they also need to be educated on how to address not only physical health, but also mental health. Finally, it is important that the victims understand their rights and know their rights, and that they know that they are not the ones to blame and that they can be reintegrated back into society. We will be partnering with the DEPDC, which is Development and Education Program for Daughters in Communities. This organization essentially informs parents about the dangers of sex trade, offers information about HIV and AIDS, brothel conditions, legal penalties, and other potential dangers. We will introduce the idea and the use of SMS texting to distribute information, and we will utilize existing hotlines where individuals can receive more information. We are also targeting primary schools so children will understand their rights at an early age, and this will be implemented into their future growth and development. We will offer training in police academies in order to educate new officers on how to recognize these red flags. The main objective of implementing education within police academies will be in the hopes that new officers will be less likely to turn a blind eye to trafficking. We will also implement monthly quotas where each officer will be required to arrest a certain amount of buyers or sellers, or to even shut down a certain amount of operations each month. We would also like to reach out to several Thai and English celebrities. The reason we want to include celebrities within our campaign is so that they can help us raise awareness, and then they also can donate to our cause. One of our media campaigns will be the It Could Have Been Me campaign, which is targeted at global tourism to raise social consciousness that sex trafficking could happen to anybody. We will make a website that contains information and resources and produce a commercial that will air on YouTube and local television stations. This information will be publicized through all forms of social media. We will create billboards that will be placed in public areas, and we plan to distribute stickers with the PEPSA logo and the hotline number in urban and rural areas in order to increase awareness and to make this hotline number more accessible. Along with the stickers, we will also implement a more creative measure of Band-Aids that will be branded with the PEPSA logo. There will be on-ground educators that will be passing out flyers during events such as Songkran, which is the Thai New Year where there's a lot of pedestrian traffic. And we also want to increase awareness for Human Trafficking Awareness Day, which is on January 11th. There are 5 different aspects in our prevention branch. The first one is sex tourism deterrence. For this, we show a video on airplanes before or after flights begin to warn about and increase the saliency and severity of the legal penalties. This short film would humanize the victims, their experience, and show the cruelty of sex trafficking. It should be especially effective through the It Could Have Been Me campaign and include encouragement on visiting beautiful sites and sensibilizing and warning about having sex with children.
The Neighborhood Watch programs will utilize residents and train them on how to report suspicious activity or threats of sexual trafficking for a child missing for any period of time within their neighborhood, just kind of increasing the awareness that they can actually make a difference in their communities. Our economic intervention will be centered on microloans and business support for local families. These will be given at low interest rates to the women of these families with the stipulation that the children must remain in the home and in school. These will hopefully break the cycle of poverty and give women and children more social equality within Thailand. Border Patrol will be a pilot program initiated on the border of Myanmar. There will be 2 to 3 ports where patrol officers will take a census of incoming immigrants. This census will be uploaded onto the UN PEPSA website where trafficking of these individuals will begin. We will work with the Thai government closely to incorporate these immigrants into their healthcare system.
The final portion of our prevention action plan is primary school awareness. In this program, educators will visit primary schools in order to discuss the very real and relevant severity of human trafficking, the warning signs of a human trafficking victim, and education about everyone's fundamental human rights, and how every single person deserves to have those unviolated. Next slide. PEPSA will be setting up several vital partnerships with various organizations, as you see here, and we call that the PEPNet. So these include the WHO, the Peace Corps, UNICEF, just to name a few, and the Mirror Foundation, so it's both international and local organizations. More information about the resources gained from each of these partnerships is in our information packet on pages 3 and 4. Next. Several of the universities we would like to partner with during our time to establish our school mentoring programs are prominent and reputable universities in these respective areas, including the 2 in Bangkok, the 1 in Songkla, and the 1 in Chiang Rai, which are different locations and our different university choices allow us to cover the multitude of populations we hope to, including urban, rural, and the lower SES population. We hope to bring data in and better expose and track human trafficking statistics, as they are a population that is quite invisible and hard to reach, with almost no existing information on them. Some of the quantifiable measures include the total arrests, the number of the calls, number of children rescued, and with our partners, and the number of medical visits, whether that's physical or mental. And the information that we attain will be used in our annual evaluations in order to assess how effectively our program is working to accomplish our goals, and if necessary, to adjust our program to better suit your needs. The adjustment side of the program is geared for the people who are rescued from the system and situations that they were forced into. We are partnering with several organizations to help build a supportive environment, a necessary supportive environment for the victims that is filled with not just care, but the absolutely necessary, sincere love that begins the steps in the long healing process.
1 minute.
This program is flexible, so we hope to scale up from something that's just at the 3 local test sites to something that's spread out through Thailand and eventually out to the surrounding countries where these trafficking victims tend to come from, such as Myanmar or Laos. The following logic model here gives us a brief and concise overview of the components of PEPSA, including the resources we get put in and what we get out. And then these are some of our references.
This is our proposed budget for our 5-year implementation period. There are several aspects of this I want to point out, 2 of which being the one-time cellular contract. This contract would be used with partnering cellular companies in Thailand, and that's how we would disseminate information via SMS text messaging. And the other one is the Love It Outreach Fund. This would be solely used for women's endearment.
So here are 2 examples of a billboard that would go up within Thailand for the It Could Have Been Me campaign. It kind of humanizes the issue and lets them know that it could literally happen to anyone. And this is an example of a Band-Aid that we would pass out. Band-Aids kind of represent healing, and we're hoping that it's creative enough that people will be more interested and make PEPSA a global campaign. So thank you for listening to us, and also PEPSA will be the spearhead against human trafficking and global awareness, and we just thank you for listening to us. Yes.
And as you were talking, first of all, you did a great job, and it was nice to see all the components that you were trying to address. I think in somewhere in your language, and they're just the concepts were just like floating here and there. So it was human trafficking, sex trafficking, underage trafficking. It was like all these different things. And then you come back at the end and you're going to monitor about what you're going to do about how many you arrest. I wasn't sure who you were going to arrest. You know, at some point that should be clarified. But I'm just the scope and scale of it also strikes me. I think there's certain aspects of it that everybody could agree are horrible. So underage, you could probably make an age cutoff and say, all right, you know, this everybody can agree is bad. I want to ask you the question though, in Bangkok, if you're talking about an industry that makes up a significant portion of the gross national product of a country, so it's a $50 billion industry in the country, to then say, you're going to stop it. I mean, what are you going to shut every hotel? You're going to. I mean, there are certain points where things happen, but it's like saying you're going to stop gambling in Las Vegas, you know, because it's why, you know, it's a big part of what exists. And so I'm just pushing you a little bit on the concepts, you know, of what and where you're going to be doing things.
So we definitely want to be firm in our goals. We realize that this is a process. 5 years is not nearly enough to just get your feet wet. This problem is huge and vast, and we know that it's going to take a lot of time. We're hoping that with the mentoring program, with job placement, with the microloans, that influx will kind of keep increasing, and it will dip a little bit, but we're hoping that by encouraging the tourists to keep coming, to go to the beautiful sites, that it won't take as big of a hit. And like you said, it's not going to be an immediate drop. There's going to be things that need to change and evaluate and be flexible to actually get us to that point. So we're hoping that by the things that we have talked about and the things that we plan on implementing, that it won't be such a huge culture or such a huge like financial shock to the country of Thailand. And also I want to address like your feasibility. This program is actually based off a program in Swaziland called SWAGA. It's a funny name, but it is an organization that kind of is a focal hub for for a bunch of different NGOs and the government, and it kind of coheves the power. And because, you know, when you're trying to do things by yourself, it's a lot harder unless you do it in a group. So PEPSA is very closely modeled after that, which shows that works. And they're focusing on eradicating gender-based violence, and they've had amazing decreases in rates. So I definitely think our program is feasible in that aspect.
You talked about border patrols, and I think you had 10 border agents budgeted. Obviously, that's an issue that everybody's talking about these days is border patrol here. And we're a developed nation and can't control our border. How do you see being able to control a border that you share with, what, 3 other countries?
Yeah, the idea of the border control, so we need to start having a pilot program first. So we target first the border with Myanmar, which got lots of sex trafficking coming up. So the idea is to train, volunteers that will kind of back up the police. It's like even if you skip the first line, then you can have volunteers patrol that can have a look, and these volunteers can contact the police. So it's gonna be a pilot program, and then based on the result, we will probably pivot and adjust to see how we can have it.
And also, a 5-year plan is a very small amount of time. We have limited resources right now. So we do want to start that off with just a few ports and a few employees there, and hopefully build on that more and more as we get more donation funds and partner with more organizations that can help us out financially.
Can I ask the budget question now? Do you like going back to your budget slide for me, please?
Okay, some of the specific ideas that you mentioned briefly that I thought were really interesting, like showing videos on airplanes as a way of deterring sex tourism. Where does that come into your budget exactly?
That particular aspect could be budgeted either into our contingency fund or it could be budgeted into our media. We overcompensated it in media to account for those costs. We originally halved this budget and then we doubled it to compensate for those costs on the airplanes.
Sort of piggybacking off some of the earlier points, I mean, what I see here is a very sort of comprehensive, multifaceted picture about how to address this issue. So I'm kind of curious about, I mean, what's the value added you guys are looking for here? Or is this something, as I see it, that's basically sort of steering and coordinating all these NGOs that work with these programs? Is that kind of where you would see your niche?
So I definitely think that's the niche where PEPSA fits in best, but also I think it provides them an amazing platform to offer other services like counseling and mentoring programs and campaigns that other organizations don't have the time or funds to do. So I definitely think PEPSA is kind of a strategic focal point for them, but I do think that they'll grow and become more of a brand of their own, because that's the goal with the branding, with the Band-Aids, with the ad campaigns. It's to make PEPSA its own brand, kind of like Save the Tatas is like a huge thing and everyone talks about it. Like that's the goal for PEPSA. It's to be an internationally known thing that people, they think PEPSA, they think, okay, let's end human trafficking and save these victims.
So then I guess spinning off of that, I mean, it seems like a lot of the political issues you guys would be navigating would be making the NGOs agree with you and be willing to, you know, avoid the turf battles and these type of things.
So that's something that we definitely would run into, but we plan on having bi-monthly meetings where we bring all the NGOs together and talk about goals and things that are going wrong and what they want. So it's going to be constant communication because that's the only way, like you said, there will be a lot of political push and pull, but I think everyone has the same goal of wanting to mitigate this issue.
That's the end of the question and answer session.